Hey guys, welcome to Cold Blood Creations. So in this video, we're going to be showing you guys how to build a mouse rack.
That's right, and I want to shout out to the Southern Reptile Haven, our friends down in Jacksonville, Florida, who gave us these cool shirts. Somebody got hers dirty already, so she's not wearing it, but they got these shirts, Reptile Lives Matter, on the back. Rescue is my favorite morph. This is a reptile rescue out of Jacksonville, Florida. We want to give a shout out to them, and you guys check their website out. So one of the first things we want to talk about are the tools that you're going to need. Now, first and foremost, you're going to need a saw. Whether it be an electric saw or a hand saw, you're going to need something to cut wood with. The other thing that you're going to need is a staple gun. Now, you could either use a pneumatic staple gun with an air compressor, or you could use just a standard staple gun like the one right here. You're also going to need staples for whichever one of those you choose. Another tool that you're going to need is going to be wire cutters, like this yellow set right here, or you can use the type that look more like scissors, like these pair here. And you're also going to need a drill, like this DeWalt drill here. You're going to need a tape measure for taking measurements. You're going to need something to write with, like a pen or a carpenter's pencil. Those things will help you get started. So when it comes to materials, you're not going to need a whole lot of materials to build a rat rack. Basically, rat racks are made out of two things, wood and hardware cloth. As far as wood goes, what we recommend is a 2x3. Now, this is very similar to a 2x4 and a 2x2. It's a little bit thicker than the 2x2. It's a little bit thinner than a 2x4. This will make your rack sturdy, but it'll also have a little bit of weight to it, so it doesn't want to tip over whenever you're opening your drawers. You can find these here locally. We get them at Home Depot, Lowe's, places like that. This is what's used to manufacture mobile homes. They're 2x3s. You're going to need several of those depending on how many spaces you want to put in your rat rack. You're also going to need some hardware cloth. Now, hardware cloth basically comes in two sizes. You've got the larger size, like this right here. This is the, I believe this is the 1/2 inch hardware cloth. And this right here is the 1/4. And you can see that the actual wire is tighter on the 1/4 inch. And on the 1/2 inch, there's bigger spaces. Now, I'm going to tell you from experience, if you're building cages for rats, the 1/2 inch is perfectly fine. However, if you're doing mice, you want to go down to the smaller wire. And the reason is because we have found that the little hopper mice can actually squeeze out, believe it or not, of these right here. So you're going to have a lot of escapes if you go to this. On our rack, we're actually going to use both types of wire. That's probably not going to make sense to you right now, but we'll show you later in the video why we choose to use two different types of wires on our cages. The tubs we're going to use, we buy these tubs from Home Depot. This is a 9-gallon mixing tub. This is what we use for mice. We do use a larger tub for rats, but you can put a lot of mice in this size tub. Now, one thing about these tubs that really are nice for rodents is that inside's completely smooth all the way around. There's no lips on the tub anywhere. Now, that's important because anywhere on a tub there's a lip, that's a place where a mouse or a rat can get their little teeth and they'll chew on that lip, and eventually they'll chew a hole through it. If the inside is smooth like this all the way around, there's nothing for them to actually put their teeth on, and their teeth just slide on the smooth plastic. Therefore, you're unlikely to have any escapes from them chewing through the plastic. All right, so we're going to start measuring. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to cut our long pieces first. And our long pieces are going to be 28 inches. So we're going to put our tape measure down on our wood here, come down 28 inches, and we're going to measure 28 inches, and then we'll cut that out. You're going to need two 28-inch pieces for every tub. Basically, what you're going to get is something like this. You're going to have your two 28-inch pieces. These are going to be your sides, and they're going to run along down your tub like so. So for every layer that you want, if you want 6 layers, you're gonna need 12 28 pieces. If you want 5 layers, you're gonna need 10 and so forth. You're gonna need 2 for each layer. Now, far as your side, your front, your back pieces, you're gonna need 3 of those per tub. You're gonna need 1 for the front, 1 for the back, and you're gonna need 1 for a food divider. So these pieces here are gonna be 16 3/4 of an inch. You're gonna need 3 pieces per tub at 16 3/4. One's gonna be like this. One's gonna be at the other end. And then the third one is gonna go pretty much wherever you want it to go. It's not really important. You could put it right in the middle if you want a large feeding area. We like to kind of come down a little bit, about like so, and give ourselves a smaller area. And then basically this is what it's gonna be. You're gonna put your wire on here, and then this is going to allow your tubs to slide like this. As you can see, this is perfectly shaped to the size tub that we're using. So now what we're going to want to do, and something I didn't mention when I was talking about the tools and materials, you are going to need some type of screws to screw this all together, and also some wood glue. That is optional. We do use wood glue on our racks. You don't have to. The screws will hold them together, but in the event we ever have a rusty screw, we want to take it out and replace it, we've still got our glue holding our pieces together. So now we've got our frame in place, like so. So once again, you're gonna need 1 of these right here with your 2 side pieces and 3 cross pieces for every tub that you want in your rack. The next thing we're gonna do is take our wire and cut it down. Now, we're going to just basically take the wire, leave it on the roll like so, and we're going to pull our wire down to right here. And then what we're going to do is just trim off this excess wire. I'm going to take my cutting tool here and just come right down this edge, and we're going to cut down, marking how wide we need it. We're also going to come down to the end down here, and we're going to cut our wire again, marking the length. Once we get this wire cut out, then we'll fasten it down. Now, one thing I want to point out to you is that we only went from the end to this piece here. We didn't come all the way to the end, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So now we're going to take our 1/4 inch hardware cloth, and we're going to set it down here and line it up with our wooden frame. Want to be mindful too that you don't let your wire overlap on the sides, especially these jagged edges, because as you pick these things up and handle them, they will cut you. So we're going to go ahead and do, I like to do opposite corners just until I get it held down. And also like to put something to kind of weigh down the middle just until I get all the staples in. And then like so. And then this other opposite corner over here, like so. Now we're going to just go around and staple this down on these 3 sides. We're not going to staple here yet. Now, so I was telling you earlier that this cloth right here will allow the mice to stay in. It doesn't allow the hoppers to escape. However, it does have one problem, and that is it's difficult for the mice to actually eat through this small wire. So what we're going to do in this area here, this is going to be where we put our feed. So in order to allow our mice easy access to the food, we're going to use this bigger wire. And I've already got this piece cut to size, and we're going to lay it down just like we did our other. I'm going to go ahead and do the corners opposite one another. And the reason I told you not to staple this edge down is because now we're going to staple them both together. Okay, so we showed you how to build this, and we're not going to bore you by letting you watch us do this over and over again. Just keep in mind, for every tub that you intend to have on your rack, you're going to have to build one just like this. Now we're going to go ahead and build a few more of these because we're going to have several in our rack. We're not going to actually show that, but we'll come back and show you once we get all these together, and we'll show you how to put the rest of this rack together. All right, guys, through the miracle of time and technology, this is a new day. We had finished yesterday afternoon building on our actual tub tops. And you see we got our small wire here, we got our large wire right here for the feeding and the automatic watering. So now what we're going to do is start assembling all this. Now, one of the things I told you we're going to need is you're going to need 4 legs. As far as the legs go, size, people say, well, how tall do you want it? And that's a personal preference. I mean, you can build your rat rack to be 3 foot tall, 4 foot tall, 5 or 6 foot tall even. It's completely up to you, but the taller the rack is, the more tubs it'll hold, and the shorter it is, obviously, the less it'll hold. Now, what we've done here is we've cut our legs to be about 6 foot tall, so they're about even with me. I like my tub to be just at eye level, my top one. I don't like to have to go up on ladders to get to the top tub. So we're looking at about 6. I've already got some screws in here. You'll see what that's for in a moment. This is going to be how we hold everything in place. But you want to start with one of your tubs here. Now, we're going to actually assemble this upside down. I found it's a little easier to assemble everything upside down. So we're going to start by placing one of these on the ground, and we want to do it with the wire facing up. So go ahead and lay one of these out. Make sure the wire is facing upwards. Now it's up to you where the front and the back is. Some people like the feeding troughs to be in the back. Some people prefer them to be in the front. I, for one, don't have a preference. Some of my racks have them in the back, some have them in the front. But if you have a preference, you want to orient that right away. Decide what's going to be your front, what's going to be your back. The next thing you want to do is to grab one of your legs. Now, when you're choosing 2x4s, always make sure that the nicest side of the 2x4 is going to go up against your tubs. And the reason is you don't want these sides, some of these these are 2x3s, I'm sorry. Some of these are kind of rough and they don't want to sit flat, so make sure you put your nicest side of your wood up against your rack. Now, as far as the placement of the legs go, again, that's completely up to you. Some people like them all the way up in the front like this. Some people want them to set back a little bit like this. And again, that's completely up to you. I actually like to have mine about right here where this cross member is. The reason why there's no obstruction to my food, I can fill my feeders up much easier that way. So we're going to go ahead and put this about right here, and then we're going to screw it in. So now we want to install our back leg. Now basically we've got 2 legs on here, so we're going to just repeat this, what we've done on the opposite side. Alright, so we've got our 4 legs on here. Now what we want to do is get one of our tubs and we want to lay our tub upside down right in here like so. Now, these tubs have to have something to slide on, so we're going to have to install sliders. Now, this was something that when we were talking about materials I didn't cover. There's a couple different things you can use for sliders. Some people like to use 1x2s. I personally like to use 2x2s. The problem with that is that you'll have to have a table saw. A 2x2 is going to be a little bit too wide for this, so they're going to have to be trimmed down some. Now, if you don't have a table saw and you can't split 2x2s, then you're going to have to use the standard 1x2. The reason I don't like the 1x2s is because they are just a little bit narrow, and sometimes the tubs will kind of rotate back and forth on them. It's not a really big deal, but if you have the ability to cut a 2x2 down and make it just a little bit thinner, then these things here work great. So what we're going to do is place these on here like this. Now, as far as the length that you want to cut them, these are going to be exactly the same length as your sides of your of these things here. You want to cut these the exact same length. I believe my memory serves me correctly, that was 28 inches. So you want to have 2 of these for each tub level. And basically you're just going to lay them down on top of the tub like so. Don't push down on them really tight, but lay them about right here, and then we're just going to screw them into the side. Alright, so we've got our sliders in right here. So now you want to check it. You can put your tub back in here and set it under here, and you want to make sure that it slides in good. You want it to be easy to slide, but you don't want there to be a space. You want a tight fit. That's especially important if you're doing mice. You want to make sure that these tubs fit good and secure. This one does. So now we're going to take this out and we will get ready to install our next one. Okay, I'm going to share with you guys a couple little tips when it comes to building here. Now, when you install these sliders here, it's almost impossible to screw them in from the inside of the rack if the tubs are in. So what we have done is we've built some spacers for ourselves. Now, those spacers that we use are basically these right here. They're just furring strips. They're exactly the same height as the side of our tub. That way we can put these in place down here. We can slide these under here, and then that gives us the perfect spacing for our sliding cross rails. So that's what these are used for. Now, also, if you're kind of, what's the word, maybe ODD, is that obsessive? No, OC, what is it? OCD, there you go. If you want all of your rack tubs to be spaced exactly the same, then you're gonna probably you're either gonna have to be really good with a tape measure, or I'll show you a way to do a little cheating on that. This right here is pressure treated deck board. Now these right here are about perfect for spacing. Basically what you want to do is just place these on top of your slide rails like so. Now we're not going to screw those in. We don't want them screwed in. What we're going to do now is install our next rack top. We're going to set it down on the top, screw this in, and then we'll kick these out of the way. They're only there to be used as a spacing device so that as we go up, our tubs are perfectly spaced from the first one to the last one. Okay, so I told you when it comes to your cross rails, we cut these out of 2x2s. Basically, when you have a 2x2 piece of wood, this is what it's like. Now, the problem with using the 2x2 is, as you can tell, it is a lot wider than the tub. So if you split this on a table saw, we split it down to this point right here where it's exactly the same width as the side of the tub. Now what that does is it gives us this extra piece of wood, and we're going to use this as a stop on the back of our rack. Basically, we're going to install this right down the middle, right here, and that's going to give something for our tubs to bump up against. So now we're going to take this again. You want to make sure your wire is facing upwards. Put it right in the middle here. Set it down on top of your spacers. Slide this back until it bumps up against this. Make sure you're lined up good, and then you can screw these together. Okay, so we got our second top to our rack. We could go ahead and kick these spacers out of the way. We've got those out of the way. Now we want to get our smaller spacers that I told you about. We're going to lay these set of spacers down here and here. Then we want to grab 2 of our sliding crossbars, put them in like so. And now we're going to screw them in. Alright, so we have got our rack completed, and you can see that our bottom level will be off the floor a little bit. Now we got to flip this thing over because right now everything's upside down. So what we're going to do is just turn it back and flip it over the right way. So now basically you can see what we've got here. This is our stop on the back, and we're going to start test fitting our tubs to make sure that they're going to fit properly. We've already tested the top one, so I'm actually going to start right here. Make sure they're going to slide in good, and there's a good snug fit. Like so. It's good. Comes in, and you see there's a good snug fit there. They're not there's not any room for them to get out. Alright guys, we finished up our rat rack. We've got our automatic watering system hooked up. We'll show you how to do that in a future video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.